Welcome back to The Mystery with Jensen and Marley. Like and follow our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and text or email who you think did it to jensen@jensenday.com. Noah Thomas works for the nonprofit organization Evergreen Hope Foundation as coordinator of event planning. He has been planning his first function in his new position for several months. It will be a star-studded gala held at Trump Tower in New York City. Many CEOs, Wall Street executives, politicians, and celebrities will be in attendance. People pay big bucks just for a table at the event, not to mention the auction that will feature several high-value items. This was not the first major event Noah had helped organize for Evergreen, but it was by far the biggest and most lavish. After almost a year of heading the organization's biggest benefit, Noah and his team were ready to bring their ideas to life. It was the night before the benefit and Noah was laying in bed unable to sleep. He was more excited than nervous, but all of the adrenaline combined was keeping him awake. He felt confident that he had planned the best function Evergreen had ever hosted. After thinking about and planning through every single bad thing that could possibly happen, Noah never could have predicted what tomorrow night would bring. Noah and his two assistant directors, Drew and Zoe, arrived at Trump Tower bright and early that morning. Drew has been with Evergreen for a little over 2 years, but has worked in event coordinating for nearly a decade. Zoe is a recent college graduate who has been with the company for less than a year. She joined the Evergreen team through her aunt who runs the marketing department. Despite their experience and age differences, Noah, Drew, and Zoe had proven themselves to be the ultimate dream team. The three of them had a quick meeting that morning about how the night would play out and then began delegating tasks to the event setup team. Everything was planned down to the pearl-lined linens and what time each course would be delivered to tables. Many long days and nights of planning in and outside of the office had led to this gala, and it was going to be perfect if they had anything to do with it. Noah ran home around 1 p.m. to eat lunch and get himself ready for the benefit. Evergreen's CEO was meeting Noah and his team in a couple of hours to oversee everything before guests began to arrive. Noah was most nervous to get Mr. Brown's approval, as this was his 20th Evergreen benefit he has hosted as CEO. Noah didn't just want to impress Mr. Brown. He wanted this to be the best event he had ever attended. Mr. Brown arrived nearly an hour late, lucky for Noah because there had been a hiccup with dessert catering, so he had spent the past half hour yelling on the phone. Once the mishap had been settled, Noah took a deep breath. He grounded himself in the thought that the inevitable blunder was out of the way and everything was going to be smooth sailing from here on out. After meeting with Noah, Drew, and Zoe, Mr. Brown simply nodded as his sign of approval. Zoe and Drew did not take this well and stood sullen as Mr. Brown walked away. Noah knew him well enough that a nod was all he needed to feel confident in his work. Mr. Brown was a man of few words and was not the kind to give out praise before the work was done. Noah assured Drew and Zoe that his underwhelming response was not to be mistaken with disapproval. At 5 p.m. sharp, guests began to fill up the extravagant ballroom. Noah and Mr. Brown stood at the entrance greeting guests. Zoe and other Evergreen employees were working on the auction setup, while Drew hovered around overseeing guest experience. Noah's fiancée and her mom arrived right before the event began. Megan has been right by Noah's side over the past year, supporting him, and she was not going to miss his big night. As the first course was being served to guests, Noah gave a short speech to introduce the Evergreen Hope Foundation and thank everyone for coming. Dinner went smoothly. The guests seemed to enjoy their meals, and conversation filled the room. Noah, Zoe, and Drew were able to eat for a bit and socialize with guests. They sat at a table with Mr. Brown and his wife, Megan, and her mother, Mary. At the end of the 4-course meal, Zoe took the stage to announce that the silent auction was now open and would be live for the next 2 hours. She then introduced Mr. Brown and sat back at the table next to Noah. She asked him how she did up there, and he gave her a nod and smiled, then turned his eyes back to the stage. Mr. Brown talked for a moment about his experience working with Evergreen. He spoke about how pleased he was with the growth the foundation has made in his time as CEO. Then he announced that after a brief period for dancing and fellowship, a surprise guest was going to make an appearance. Guests made their way to the dance floor and gathered around auction tables. Noah ran around making sure that everything was perfect and everyone was enjoying themselves. Soon enough, the large ballroom doors opened and in walked the guest of honor, President Trump. The crowd parted and people cheered. When he walked on stage to greet everyone, Noah sat back down at his table and noticed that Megan was not around. He went to ask her mother where she'd gone to, but Mary pointed to Mr. Trump and shushed him. After his speech, the guests went back to mingling and dancing. The president hung around long enough for Mr. Brown and Noah to thank him, and then he took off for the night. Noah still had not seen Megan. He was about to go look for her when Zoe approached him, asking when she should announce last call for the auction. He snapped at Zoe, telling her not to ask him stupid questions, and stormed off. Zoe stood there red-faced, more embarrassed than angry because Mr. Brown had just witnessed that exchange. Zoe was running to the bathroom outside of the ballroom when she ran into Megan exiting the elevator. Zoe, still flustered, faked a smile and asked Megan where she'd ran off to. Megan mumbled about leaving something in her car. There was an awkward pause before Megan asked Zoe if something was wrong. She shook her head as tears filled her eyes. She told Megan that Noah had been looking for her, and then she walked off. Back in the ballroom, guests were enjoying themselves, some a little too much. Drew took the initiative to ask the band to play a couple slower songs and hoped to help some rowdy guests wind down. He noticed that 9 p.m. was approaching quickly and the auctions was closing soon. He hadn't seen Zoe for some time and knew that someone needed to announce last call. He scanned the room once more for Zoe or Noah, then decided to do it himself. As Drew was announcing last call for the auction, Noah and Megan entered the ballroom. Noah walked up to Drew and asked why he had done that and not Zoe. Drew informed him he didn't know where Zoe was, so he decided to do it himself before it was too late. This had Noah fuming. He started whisper shouting about her lack of effort and calling her nasty names. Drew backed away, stunned by Noah's sudden rage. Megan stood silently behind them, her eyes fixed on Noah with a look that was unreadable, somewhere between fury and sorrow. Noah stormed off toward the service corridor near the kitchen, muttering about finding her himself. Megan followed slowly, unnoticed. Noah's voice echoed as he turned the corner towards the back exit. He was a level of anger that could not possibly be justified by Zoe's actions. There was a passion behind his frustration. Zoe stood unwavering for a little bit before she couldn't take it anymore and started sobbing uncontrollably. Megan stood unseen and listened to Zoe sob. Then after it was quiet for a while, she took a deep breath and turned the corner. Her heart dropped as she saw Zoe and Noah intertwined. She had no idea what to say or do. Zoe pulled back, her expression unreadable, and that's when she noticed Megan standing just a few feet away, watching silently. Her gasp echoed through the hallway. Noah spun around. No one spoke. A thick silence settled between the three of them, and then chaos. A sudden shriek, the dull thud of something hitting metal, a rush of footsteps. Moments later, a body was found at the base of the service stairwell. Security locked down the building. Emergency lights flickered in the hallway. Confused guests were ushered away from the ballroom as murmurs turned to panic. No one could say what happened. No one saw it. Some said they heard an argument. Others swore they saw shadows moving just before the fall. One guest insisted someone was crying. Another one said someone was laughing. The cameras near the staircase, disabled. The truth, still somewhere in the silent hallway, waiting to surface. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and follow our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and text or email who you think did it to Jensen@jensenday.com.